please welcome Lisa Rowan.
Thank you. Hi. Oh my God. Oh, here's my little guy. He's so cute. Click again. Oh, there he is. It is really awkward to talk about money. And when you're in a situation like this and strangers are getting in on your financial space, like you just put your walls up, right? You put your guard up and you're like, I am uncomfortable with this. And we're not great about talking about money. You know, it's always been this taboo. Like if you think about when you were a kid and like your parents were paying the bills at the kitchen table, like did they explain to you what they were doing? Probably not. They wanted you to get out of their way. Get out of their hair. You know, did you learn to make a budget in school? I am sure that you didn't actually, because only 21 states require that you take a personal finance class to graduate high school. And that is a very recent number, that it's been 21 states. You know, when you graduated college and you got offered your first job, did you negotiate your salary or did you say, thank you? I said, thank you. And I've regretted it ever since. So we've all just sort of been winging it, right? And so when we don't do money exactly right, then it's you and me who end up feeling like the bad guy. Here are just a few headlines I found recently that sort of just highlight this issue, how we keep getting shamed and blamed for our money. Why are Americans so bad at saving money? 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency expense. You've all heard that one. The average credit card balance is over $6,200, just a small amount. Just 29% of Americans are financially healthy, and most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Sure, like no bigs, like that's great, we're doing fine. So you might think that those headlines are just a scare tactic. Like this survey comes out and we take like the scariest stat and we just like hammer it home, right? But there's a lot of truth in headlines like this. And if you're worried about money and you keep seeing these headlines and you keep pushing down your insecurities about how you're doing money, there's this lasting effect. And it goes well beyond your financial health. It's just not good. Sorry, I'm gonna hit you with more bad news. 1 in 3 Americans say they are constantly stressed about money. 2/3 of us lose sleep over our money worries. I'm one of those. People who have financial stress are 6 times more likely to suffer from anxiety. They are 7 times more likely to suffer from depression. And 27% of people who have financial stress are not happy in their current jobs and they want to quit. But they don't because they need the money. So I'm not here today to tell you how to build a budget or diversify your portfolio. Stick it in the Q&A if you're curious. But I am here to encourage you to invest in your own financial potential. And to do that, we need to take the stigma away from talking about money. Because people hear that I'm a personal finance writer and they say like, oh, like you have it all figured out. But my big secret is that I'm really bad at math. And the reason that I'm a good personal finance writer is because I've made all the mistakes already. Some of them twice. But every time I've come back thriving. So let me tell you about my financial rock bottom because it did not happen that long ago. So in 2011, I was living in Washington, D.C., and I was a month into taking night classes for graduate school, and I got laid off from my job in journalism. And it happens, but instead of getting another job in journalism, I said, this industry is not stable enough for me. I am gonna open a vintage clothing store because retail is really stable. You see, I had this dream where I had this cute little boutique, and on rainy days when it wasn't busy, I would sit at my desk and I would work on my blog because it was 2011, everybody had a blog. And I already had a blog about vintage clothing and I thought, like, I'm great at writing about this stuff, so obviously I'm going to be great at selling this stuff. Like, come into the shop, sell some clothes, write about the clothes, close the shop, happy hour, done, right? Like, the life. I had it all figured out, you guys. So I wrote a 5-page business plan, set up a shop on Etsy. I sold clothing at like every event that I could get to in the tri-state area. Wherever I lived, I had these big storage containers just like stacked up around me full of vintage clothing. It was like a fort. And then in 2013, one of my friends I knew from these markets and these events came to me, and she asked if I wanted to share a storefront with her. It was in this up-and-coming neighborhood, and she would keep her business. She sold like vintage-themed, retro-themed stuff, and I would keep selling clothing, and we would have our own separate businesses, but we'd bring them together under this one storefront. And I was like, heck yes, girl. Up-and-coming neighborhood, I'm in. And at first, we were super popular. We got a ton of press. I had 1 inch of hair. Nope, spoiler alert. I didn't have time for hair because I was having a business. We got a ton of good press. It was great. That same year, I got engaged, I got my master's degree, and I was like having it all, right? Like the height of having it all. But my projections for that first year of sales were totally off. And it was not because my math was bad. It was because foot traffic was bad. It was because we had 2 bad winters in a row. There were a lot of days where I made 0 sales. And I started getting desperate. I maxed out credit cards, I took out loans, I emptied out my retirement account. I had to let my 1 part-time employee go, and I couldn't even pay myself. I never got to pay myself. And you know that dream about like sitting at my desk on a slow day and working on my blog? No, what I did was sit at my desk and just stared at the empty shop, and I was like, how am I gonna pay the bills? How am I, no, I was not productive. I was just panicking. So eventually I had to face the fact that I was out of money. And not even 2 years after opening my little dream store, I knew I had to shut it down. And on the outside, I was still having it all right. People would ask how business was. Y'all, I'm parched. People would ask how business was, and I would say, oh, it's a lot of fun. Let me tell you, if a business owner says that business is fun, it means they're making $0. It's the best lie we tell. Also, don't ask how business is, that's rude. But anyway, so they'd ask how business was, and I would totally lie. But when I left the store at the end of the day, I had this elaborate system set up where sometimes I could sort of jump the turnstile to get on the subway to go back home so that I wouldn't have to fill my Metro card until like maybe 1 more day or 2 more days out. Because I just didn't have the money to get to my store. Please don't arrest me. It was a long time ago. So I would go home and I would look at this spreadsheet that told me how much debt I was in. It was called Big Scary Debt List, and it had many tabs, and they go all the way, the tabs went like over here, right? $51,679. Is there a, yeah! This is like roulette. I have not seen these slides. Oh, I'm just going. But yeah, this is like the worst day on The Price is Right. $51,000 worth of debt that I racked up in fewer than 4 years. This includes my student loans, by the way. So, right, everyone's like, oh, student loans. We'll put it in the Q&A. We'll talk about it. So I thought about this number constantly, and I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone about it. Like I was ashamed. And not only is talking about money in general taboo, talking about money when you're in a bad situation is like double taboo. I was just so embarrassed. It still makes me, oh, looking at that number is not good. So, I spent most of my free time looking at this spreadsheet, panicking. I felt trapped. And I was at the point where dreams did not matter. I just had to survive. And spoiler alert, I got out. I'm standing here today not panicking. But I had to hustle to do it, and like not the fun hustle, not the rise and grind hustle, like the ugly scraping by hustle. The hustle meant working constantly. In the last few months that I had my store, I was working there on the weekends. I had taken a 30-hour-a-week job as an executive assistant, and I was working 10 hours a week at a print shop, and I would take any odd job you threw at me. Like if the money was legal, I was down. So down. And I moved into a house with roommates I did not know. I slept in a basement bedroom that had mice that had taken up residence in the wall, and they were always running around. They were mice, but they sounded like rats, like big rats. Oh, and the wedding, the fiance I mentioned, my fiance dumped me 4 months after I closed my store. Yeah, right? Rude. Wasn't that rude? His eye just went, how dare he? He's on my side. So, I mean, you can imagine how I felt. Like, not only did I feel like a failure because my business had to close, like, I felt like I lost everything that year. And that whole ordeal is why I'm so passionate about sharing my own experiences with personal finance, because I got out of debt, but I still make mistakes. And then I fix them, and then I write about them. Because if I can share some of my biggest mistakes with money, I can help other people understand that your mistakes don't have to define you. Like, yeah, you have debt, okay, but you're still a person. You're still allowed to laugh. You're still allowed to enjoy your life. Hey, yeah, enjoy that life. Yes, I want that attitude. You know, even if things are bad, you're not going to carry around that $51,000 worth of debt for the rest of your life, even though it feels like it at the time, but there is a light at the end of that tunnel. So by now, you are probably wondering, so what's the secret to getting better at all this money stuff? Like, there has to be a thing that you can do. Well, there is. You just need to do 2 simple things. Get ready to write these down. You just need to give up avocado toast and lattes. Simple. No, I am just kidding. I would never joke about taking away coffee at this establishment. But anyone who tells you that giving up takeout is like the secret to fixing your money is so out of touch. Just, sorry, Susie Orman. The thing that we have got to start doing while we're eating our toast together is to start talking about money. The highs and the lows, because if we don't talk about money more, we're never gonna break down those terrible headlines I showed you earlier. Not talking about money isolates us. It keeps power concentrated at the top. It perpetuates all kinds of pay gaps. Put that in the Q&A. It keeps people in debt and stressed about money instead of learning about solutions. And that comfort of being able to discuss money in real terms, it takes time. And it takes really hard work, even for me. So the night before my article came out and a couple slides ago about how much debt I was in and how I got out of debt, I called my mom. And I was like, hey, Mom, like, there's this article coming out. It's not good. I was in a lot of debt. It was 2 years after I had hit rock bottom on the big scary debt list that I finally admitted to my mom how bad things had gotten. My own mom. My mom's cool. She's nice. But I was still nervous. I was embarrassed. But life would be a whole lot easier if we just started talking about money a little bit more. And think about how that could change things for you or for your friends. What if you could take away the fear and the shame and the doubt that you associate with money? So I'm not going to make you turn to your partner and reveal your deepest, darkest financial secrets, although you may if you choose. Q&A will also be a safe space, but maybe go slow. But I am going to give you homework. I want you to find out what you are worth. What should you be getting paid for the good work that you do? So whether you're freelancing or you're full-time, you can find out the range of what someone in your field with your level of experience should be making. Oh yeah, this is a slide about that. You get paid what you deserve. Boop. So here are a few of my favorite places to get salary information based on your field, your experience level, and your location. This is like my one-woman attempt to eradicate the wage gap, like right here. So Glassdoor and Indeed, the places you go to like look for jobs, they also have salary information for different fields. Salary.com and PayScale give you pay scales and salaries. Fairy Godboss actually has a feature where you can submit your own salary. And so you can look up real titles of real people and what they're making. Ladies Get Paid is a great resource for negotiation skills. It is a great resource for just workplace issues. So everyone who's taking a picture of this screen, I'm really proud of you. So if you find out what you should be making on the fair market, and it's a lot less than what you actually make, you are allowed to cry, but only for like a minute, because then you have more work to do. I want you to take that information that you learned and go talk to someone in your field. It might be a coworker that you trust. It might be someone in a professional network that you participate in. It might be a friend that you work with. Start asking, do you think this is realistic? Do you get paid in this range? Those conversations are going to guide your next step. Maybe it's negotiating a raise. Maybe it's working with a friend to help them negotiate a raise. Maybe you'll decide that it's time to look for a new job. And then it is your turn to share what you learned and give someone else this same homework. But what if you're looking at me and you're like, Lisa, my salary is so great. You know, like what else? Give me other homework, you're saying. I have assignments for you too. So, 2 other things you can do. 1 is start calling out your money wins to anyone who will listen. Friends, family, Twitter, whoever. When you pay off debt, share it. When you resist the pull of the clearance section at the designer shoe warehouse, share it. Tweet at me, I will support you. If you pick an index fund for your 401k, share it, tell people. We have to share the good stuff as well as the bad stuff, because the good stuff is so much less awkward to talk about, right? And then it makes it easier to talk about the hard stuff. And the last thing that you should be doing is reframing how you talk about money, not just to others, but also to yourself. And you'll hear it when it starts to come out of your mouth next time you're with your friends. You know, how many of us have said oh, I can't go out tonight, I'm so broke. Yeah. But what if instead you said, I can't go out tonight because it's not a priority in my budget? Whoa, now you sound like you're in control. Now you sound like you're making a hard choice because you want to make the choice, not because you have FOMO because you're not going to the club. And you'll start to notice this, how you can start to twist this when someone asks you something. You know, when you get invited to go on that really cool trip one weekend, but you already booked a vacation for the year. And you're like, yeah, I would love to, but it's just not a priority for me. Or my budget is full and I'm happy with it. You know, start to reframe those negatives into the positive and own your choices. You know, bring attention to your strengths. And make sure the people who are around you know that you care about your money and what you do with it. Because it turns out it is up to us to break down the taboo of talking about money. We can't wait for somebody else to do it for us. Do you remember that financial stress that we talked about before and the effects? You know, think about what we can do if we could just get rid of a little bit of it. You know, if we could alleviate stress by talking about money and working together to help one another do money better, we can spend so much more time doing the real work, you know? The creative work, the impactful work, the fun stuff, the collaborative stuff, instead of just being stressed out all the time. And look, it's gonna be awkward for a while, maybe forever, probably forever, but it'll get easier. And we can just all be awkward together if you go do your homework. Goodbye. What an ending.
Okay, what's better? Setting aside money to pay off debt or setting aside money towards a savings?
Okay, so there is like an easy cheat sheet on this. It depends on your interest rate. If your interest rate is above 5%, throw as much money at the debt as you can. If your interest rate is below 5%, maybe you have like a really great student loan, just keep making those minimum payments and save as much as you can. Because my whole thing is like, if you have an emergency and you need that savings, like, yeah, you're out of debt, but you're about to get back into debt, right? So think about 5% as your benchmark for like, if it's higher than 5%, pay it down. If it's lower than 5%, save all the money.
Cool, great answer. What is the point of paying student loans? Did I write this? My father-in-law's here and he's glaring at me. What is the point of paying student loans? I feel like my payments aren't actually doing anything towards the total. You're bent over like you just ran a marathon at that question.
That one stresses me out because we don't have enough time for that one. I will say this. If you keep paying that minimum long enough, eventually your loans will get discharged for the rest. It's not a perfect system, but you just gotta hold on. Keep paying them because you can't discharge those in bankruptcy. So you can't call it quits. You just gotta keep going.
All right, 11 people are gonna come talk to you after the talk and get the rest of that answer.
We'll talk.
Is there value in paying for the services of a financial advisor?
Yes, like if you're terrible with numbers like me, yes. If you're at the point where you have net worth, assets, it's definitely helpful to talk to someone who can help you make really good decisions to strengthen your money over time. You know, if you're maybe just out of college and you have a bunch of student loans or you have some credit card debt, you might not be there yet, but as you start getting on stronger financial footing, it might be time. I would say there's a lot you can do on your own. So if you feel like you're not there yet, you know, there's a lot you can do with the great books that we have over at our book station. And, you know, resources that you can DIY. But there's a lot of value in speaking with someone who can put a professional spin on it for you.
Can you, I'm just going to slide this one in here. Can you talk about the debt consolidation, like what to pay for, what not to pay for?
Yeah, so if anyone offers you debt relief that's going to be fast and easy, they are a scammer. Do not give them your money. There are debt management programs, but if you are in a situation where you're feeling like super desperate and you like need someone to just like take over this and handle it for you, you can have the help of a credit counselor for free. There are nonprofit credit counselors all over the country. If you go to the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, they have a network that you can look through to find someone near you. I worked with a credit counselor when I was in debt and didn't know what to do. And in the best case scenario, they'll say, you're doing the best you can, like keep doing it. But they can also put you on a program that costs a couple of dollars a month, but you'll make one payment and then they'll parse it out to all your lenders for you. And so they work to get you a lower interest rate and basically support you along that path. But they're not gonna charge you exorbitant fees to get rid of your debt fast. That's a red flag.
Thank you. What's the best way to start investing when you feel like you don't have extra money to set aside? Like how much money is enough to start? Any
money is enough to start. If you have a retirement plan through work and you have a 401k, your employer probably offers matching. So that's free money that you can get to put towards investing. And you should be contributing just as much as they contribute. So it's probably like 3% of your income. You can probably find 3%. But there, you know, no amount is too little. There are websites that let you start, you know, doing some, you know, micro investing for $5. So the time is now. Don't wait.
My employer doesn't want employees to discuss compensation with each other. Any advice? Red flag.
That's illegal. So if you're, I mean, look, don't like go marching around the office with a shirt that says your salary on it. But your employer cannot keep you from talking about money with your coworkers. So maybe just like dip on out of the office and take a walk around the block and you can chat about it. So don't, that's rude. I hate that.
Sounds controlling. I don't like it. As a freelancer, how do you balance getting paid your worth versus losing potential clients due to price? Toughie.
Yeah, and there's a balance there. Like you will lose some clients along the way if you raise your rates. But the people who want to work with you and who will appreciate your work most are going to be the people who understand that you need to pay your bills and keep the lights on and like have a little extra on top, right? You need to make a living wage. And there are people who may not be able to afford your rates and understand. They're like, look, you're too expensive for me and that's great, but I can't be a client. But keep that relationship up with them because you may be able to work with them again in the future. You never know.
I would say too that anytime as a freelancer I've negotiated rates or like raised rates or like talked about money with clients, it's always been like a positive thing, and you get better clients when you like stay true to your values and like don't work for something that you don't feel you're worth. Like you just attract the type of clients that are gonna just vibe with you, and then those other people can go to 99 Designs, and that's okay. There's a place for them in hell. What? Who said that? Who said that? Did you say that?
No,
So rude.
I would never. It was me. I
All
made
right.
that joke.
Back on track here. Have you negotiated your salary, and if so, what are your suggestions?
Yeah, I have.
It's hard.
Drink beforehand. My best suggestion is to don't go in angry. Don't go in looking for a fight, because it is really an agreement that you have to come to. Your employer needs to be happy that you're showing up every day. You need to be happy that you're showing up every day. So think of it as coming to a mutual agreement. That may take some discussion. My other tip would be to leave it open-ended when you come back and you're looking for more. Like if you get a job offer and they offer you like $5 an hour, this is hypothetical, and you really want $7 an hour. Like instead of asking for 7, because they're gonna give you 6, just ask if they can do better and say, is there any more room? Can you do better than that? Is that your best offer? And put the ball in their court. Let them dig themselves into a hole.
Is there a local community besides this one in St. Pete to discuss money like we're doing right now?
Like, am I starting one right now? I don't know if there is.
Does anybody know if there is? Raise your hand. Hold on, I'm going to bring you a microphone because you have this little lovely voice.
So there's a Facebook group called Choose FI. It's FI is for financial independence. And there's a Tampa Bay Facebook group, and there are regular gatherings of people, and it's a very open-minded community who are very good at talking about financials and very helpful.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. The wisdom is in the community. All right, is there an appropriate way to ask coworkers what they make? I kind of want to hear inappropriate ways first. All your bad answers.
Yeah. So a great tip it's not my tip, I heard it from someone else, is to ask, hey, do you make more than this amount or less than this amount? So like if you know basically what someone in your role or in your coworker group should make, don't be like, hey, I heard we should be making $51,679. It's the only number I ever remember. So, like, is this your salary? Are you getting made that? Be like, look, I did this research. Like, this is like typical salary. Like, are you getting more than this? Are you like getting at least this? Like, start work into it, right? But no, I heard a tip from someone who said to ask someone like, do you get paid more than $50,000? And if they say yes, be like, can you tell me more? Do you make more than $60,000? And like get them to the point where they're either going to tell you exactly what they make, or you'll Price is Right it enough so that you know. Right? And if they're super uncomfortable, like be like, look, here's the reason I'm asking. Like it's not because I want to like judge you. I want to make sure that like I'm getting paid what I deserve and that what you are getting paid what you deserve. Like I'm just doing some research. This is not to like judge your choices because I see you never bring lunch to work. Like it's not that judgy. Yeah.
This is where the pay gap comes in, right? Like
Yeah.
if nobody knows what the other person makes, that's how employers get to pay women less. That's how employers get to pay people of color less. And nobody knows about it. And it's like, oh, we didn't know. So
Yeah.
this is how you know.
Yeah, I'll tell you like super fast. There's in media every now and then a spreadsheet comes out where like everyone starts contributing their salaries and it's like very revealing about what outlets pay, you know, what businesses pay what. And the company that I work for now was on that list and I contributed my salary and a male coworker came to me and he said, hey, have you seen this list? I'm gonna make sure you see it. And I was like, yeah, I saw it. And like, who's this asshole who makes 15 grand more than me and has 3 years more experience than I do? And he goes, Lisa, that's me. And I was like, how? Tell me how, like, how did you do it? And he told me the whole process of how he got hired and how he got that salary and then how he got a raise. And like, I was still mad, but I wasn't mad at him, you know?
Just lessons learned. He had less experience or more experience?
He had 3 years more experience than I did, and he was making $15,000 more.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah, it felt like a lot. Still feels like a lot.
What do you recommend for budget creating as a newer freelancer when you're not totally certain where and when the next funds are coming?
Oh
a
yeah,
good
when
one.
you have a regular income, that is like super scary. You have to figure out what your baseline is. Like what is the minimum you need to survive and start living on that every month. So when you're not sure when the check is gonna come in, I like to play this game when I'm freelancing where I assume the money is never coming. I like to be surprised when I get paid. And if I get paid on time, like within 30 days, I'm like even more surprised and I'm like, wow, I have money. But then I don't go out and spend that money, I parcel it out and I still live on whatever that minimum is because you know it's feast or famine. So even when you're feasting, you have to be prepping for the famine. So figure out your minimum viable lifestyle and stick to it.
I don't know what this means, so maybe I'm old. What do you think about robo-advisors? Can we trust the boys? And then there's like a Pac-Man. What is that? It's like a little, like the purple guy. Oh, Space Invaders. This guy.
Who put in that question? Are you going to volunteer?
No, they did it anonymously. We're going to let them
Anonymous.
stay secret.
You're going to remain anonymous.
What does that mean?
I just wanted to know more about the Space Invader guy, but yeah, so robo-advisor, so like usually a robo-advisor is either through an app or a different program where you're able to invest small amounts of money and they will like help you put it in a place where you're gonna make a smart investment with your tiny amounts of money. It's great when you're first starting out, but when you'll start to like move out of it. You'll be like, I want to make some different decisions. It is not a replacement for a 401k. It is not a replacement for having an IRA. There is a certified financial planner in the third row that I know is like eyeing me right now. Like he has much different opinions. But like if you're just starting out, yeah, the robo-advisor apps like Acorns and Stash, like Betterment, go for it. But it's not your forever, it's your start.
Do we want to entertain a divergent thought in the audience?
Yes.
Who was giving you the eyebrows?
Oh, no, it's Jorge.
Do you have a different thought?
What do you think about robo-advisors? No
Hold
pressure.
on, I'm going to give you a microphone.
Yeah, so I would just say that robo-advisors are a great option to start off, and I agree with that actually. But it's just important that, and I think Laura, right, from ChooseFi and a lot of the financial independence groups, the main thing is you just want to continue to save as much as you possibly can, but also living your lifestyle with boundaries. That's all. Mm-hmm. And robo-advisors just allows you to just start. That's all. And it's low cost, Betterment. There's so many different options, but I hope that answers the question. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a great way to start for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't actually giving me the eye, but I could just I knew where he was sitting and I'm like, what would he say? He did multiple weeks of training in this and I have learned from my mistakes.
Okay, so the last question, and you don't have to answer it, but the last question that 4 people want to know, how much money do you make?
From my day job. I make $68,500. Last year, I made another 12 or 13 grand from freelancing on top of that.
Nice. Can we clap for her? That was great.